Hello, hello. I hope this message finds you well. So, the Lord gave me another message to put out while I was doing dishes, because, like I've said before, whenever I'm around water, I get my messages all the time, but water for some reason seems to be His way that He communicates with me the easiest. He was saying that, well, a couple things. One, he's saying if your enemies didn't like you in the 2023, like before 2023, they're definitely not going to like you in this new year and the years to come. The reason why so many prophets are talking about this year, I mean, they do every year, right? But this year has such a I don't know what the word would be, like an extra emphasis on it, is because this is the year that the page turns, right? And as I've already mentioned in past word, the 2020 year was kind of the year that kicked everything off. I mean, we were already going to hell in a handbasket before 2020, but the events of 2020 were more important than just a virus. They had a very supernatural, spiritual part to it. And I even knew it back then, even before my walk with the Lord, right? But I knew there was something extra about that whole thing, like something beyond what we were being shown, something beyond the physical manifestation of things, right? And so the Lord is saying that on this last 3 years, He's had me on this journey to get to know Him, and obviously other chosen ones as well. Now, again, just want to reiterate, you didn't become chosen post 2020. If you were chosen today, you were chosen before. You've been chosen since birth. But the Lord used the events of 2020 to kick off. Now that we've been going through it for 4 years, we look back and see what's all transpired over these last 4 years, right? And like I say, we were already going on a downward spiral prior to, but at one point I thought that man created that, and now I see very clearly that it was the Lord that created that, right? So, because obviously, as we know, man doesn't do anything without the Lord's approval first. So, with that said, 2024 is like the page turner. It's like we were sitting on chapter 1 for 3 years, and now 2024 has finally turned the page to chapter 2. So it's beginning the new phase, right? The one that's been waited on, talked about. It's the beginning of the wealth transfer. And by the way, He also wants me to say, and I've been getting this download for all of 2023, that those of you that have invested in cryptocurrency, thinking that you're a step ahead, that's the way of the future, I would just take my money out of that now. Or especially if you've taken a loss, or it hasn't grown, or it's just grown minimally, that's all a sign. And the Lord has told me He is not going to bless any currency, like any money, especially cryptocurrency, because I don't know if you're familiar, but how cryptocurrency started out comes from very nefarious a background, a nefarious background. So there's that. And secondly, there's going to be people going under harsh judgment starting here in 2024 and beyond, and they have invested their money in cryptocurrency. And as far as I know, how cryptocurrency works is that if a certain block or whatnot goes, then whoever's, it's almost like stocks, like whoever's paid into that block gets paid, right? And the Lord doesn't want to bless the wicked, right? Financially, if anything, He'll be taking from them. So just say, okay, I believe that if you are of the Lord didn't lead you to invest. That's what I believe. And if He did lead you to invest, maybe, or not even Him, if Satan led you to invest back in 2021, 2022 time, before you became so, entwined with the Lord, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the Lord probably has not blessed you overly and abundantly with that, right? And that's for a reason. And I know there was a lot of chatter talking about that was going to be the, kind of the redeeming thing, and that it looked like the world was headed in that direction for a while there with the events of 2020. And I'm not saying that we're not going to lose our money currency, like our physical coins and dollars, and that there could be changes made to our money system. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that what the Lord has told me, and I'm going to get more into it in this word, but, and sorry if I'm all over the place. It's because the Lord gives me downloads that are all over the place. He'll tell me this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. Yeah, so he gave me a message about your enemies. He's saying your enemies have been going against you all these last 3 years, and it's been because they've been jealous of you and who you've been. But he's saying if they were jealous and spiteful of you in the past, wait till they get a load of the way things are going to go now that we're into the turning page, chapter 2 of 2024. So that was the first thing I was trying to say. The second thing is he talked to me about cryptocurrency. He's already talked to me about this. Like, he's been giving me downloads about this all through 2023, but he confirmed it to me in the fall of 2023, is that he is not going to bless that system, right? And he gave me several reasons why. He said, for one, he wants people, there will be a wealth transfer, and the rich will go poor and the poor will go rich, but it will be through, and I don't want to even use the word rich, that's just in layman's terms, but those in lack will have abundance, and those who have abundance will have lack. That's a better way of putting it. He's saying how he's going to achieve, so those that are currently in abundance have invested in things like cryptocurrency and other things, right? So of course, in order to have the abundant go lack, he's going to have to make that go bust. And vice versa, for those that are sitting in lack, if you've been in lack for the last 3 years and you went and invested in this, he's still going to bless you with abundance, but it'll be in different other forms, most likely forms of like businesses and things like that, something that you can actually fall back on, Like, he's just telling me, kind of like with Noah's Ark, like, God didn't make a store and Noah just went and picked up that ark. He just went and bought the ark, and God didn't build the ark for him. God had Noah build the ark, right? And it seemed futile at the time, but when the flood came, it was everybody wanted in there, right? It was the saving grace. But yet Noah had to build that for several months prior to, right? Maybe even several years. Yeah, I think it was several years. So that's what the Lord is saying, is that he's going to give you something that's more has a foundation, like more rooted, and that you can fall back on, right? Something that has structure and bones, like a business or something, as opposed to just a quick windfall. Now, I'm not going to say the Lord doesn't move in windfall, but I'm just saying he's told me personally that's more of how he's going to set up his chosen ones and his children moving forward, right? And that there's wicked people that he is going to basically drop right on their butt, and he knows they're invested in things like that. Same thing goes with the stocks. Okay, he's told me don't waste a bunch of money, especially right now when people are, like, a lot of God's children are going through lack times and lean times. He doesn't want you taking money off your table because you think that to go invest in stocks and bonds and crypto and stuff like that. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I don't know how that world, that environment and that world works very well. But I'm just saying what he's told me is, and I'm sharing with you, is he's saying, like, for one, those of you that have invested in crypto and stocks, don't expect to be, I know that 2-3 years ago they were trying to say that you're going to get rich quick off of it and it's going to be the answer to a prayer. But he's saying, no, like, don't bet and bank on that. Like, literally don't bet on it. Okay, I'll be right there. Don't bet on that. And that's another part of it, is that he feels that, like, crypto and stocks is a form of gambling, right? And I mean, in a way it is, right? You're trying to put in a small amount of money, well, maybe not small, but you know what I mean, a marginal amount, and just hope, and in cases pray and wish and hope that money's gonna turn around and go crazy, and all of a sudden you're gonna, make $100 or $1,000 investment and profit, $100,000, $1 million. And he's saying no. And for two reasons, is that one, he doesn't like the foundation that it's based off of, right? And for two, he's got other things in mind, things that require some work and effort, but things that you'll be able to fall back on in the event. And I'll get more into that as I get into the message. The other reason is because there's wicked people with unclean hands and dirty hearts, and we already know from Psalm 24 that they will not get ahead in this year, right? That have invested their money and more than you have in crypto and stocks. So if you get say 10% return, just say they're fixing to get a 50% return or however, right? And so the Lord is saying, if he won't even necessarily bless his child with, $10,000 off of it, why would he want to bless a wicked person $1 million? Especially when he's fixing to put that abundant person in lack and put, right? So therefore he's that, like, I'm just saying, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying that that's what God's told me. And he's actually been saying that to me for a while, is that his intentions are to bless his children financially, but it will be through more of a humble means as opposed to the flashy fanciness of stocks and crypto and stuff. And that also another part to it too is that there are those wicked that are going to be going into lack energy and going from the top to the bottom. So, and because of how stocks and crypto is set up, kind of on that like pyramid, that it allows others. So while some like decent people may profit, so in turn will the wicked, and the Lord can't have that, right? So therefore that's that. So if I were you, I just would not invest into any, coming into 2024, into any cryptocurrencies or any stocks or bonds or anything that has notion of gambling to it, right? Because that's not safe. It's very choppy, like that's thin ice basically. You're thinking you're not, you're thinking you're making a smart move, but the Lord's telling me that that's like skating on thin ice. And don't be surprised if you see or hear of like certain things like that falling and stuff. And I mean, we saw it in 2020 where there was buildings that were almost on the verge of shutting their doors. Well, what happens in the event to those stocks, right? So people lose money. So it just goes to show that the Lord is in charge of our market and how the world does business and things like that. And so if he wants to make another virus come, he can. If he wants to shut down the whole stock trade, he can. If he wants to shut down cryptocurrency, he can, right? And again, these things are derived from nefarious backgrounds. So therefore, they're not even rooted in anything holy or godly to begin with, right? So there's that. And then he also wanted me to go on to say that in the future, we're going to be seeing the things that are currently considered. I've made words on this already in the past, but he just, refined it to me just before I started recording. He's saying again that, as I said before in past words, the last will be first and the first shall be last. What is currently at the top will go to the bottom. What is at the bottom will go to the top. So we've kept celebrities in this upper echelon position, right? And we're going to see them fall to a lower position. And I mean, we've already started to see that happen. You know it, I know it. That's been going on for a while. Now, of course, it's going to take time to crumble that whole whatever you want to call it, that whole, category of what all the celebrities and the so-called elites and the athletes and stuff like that. But the Lord isn't keen on, athletes making $60, $70 million contracts and stuff like that. But meanwhile, there's good people, hardworking moms and dads, for example, or elderly that are just, barely making ends meet. So he's not going to continue to allow the rich to prosper without, because the other thing too is these rich, they don't try to help people, meaning that if that rich athlete saw a homeless person on the street corner, they wouldn't even give that person $10 because their heart is wicked, right? So the Lord is saying is that it's a double-fold thing, because on one hand, not only are they receiving these undeserved and unnecessary riches, but he's tested their hearts, and he knows that in the event that, like somebody went through some hardship or whatever, they didn't donate. They're not charitable. And when and if they have been charitable, it's been because they want to collect a return on it, because like there's taxes, you can get off paying taxes for charity, things like that. Like there's perks that come with donating, like we make it easy. So they're only donating for selfish gains, to get a tax break or to get the glory from it, to look like, to get more sponsor deals because, hey, you donating made you more pop. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a self glorified way of handling things. So those celebrities and athletes and musicians that unnecessarily make whopping amounts of money, they're going to know what it's like to struggle and have lack. And then those that are struggling and have lack are going to finally know what it's like to be abundant and to not have to worry, oh, do I pay rent this month or bills? Or do I pay both and then how do I eat? You know what I'm saying? So he's going to take those that have never struggled and have them struggle, and those who have struggled not struggle, right? They almost get like a break of rest. He's also saying that, like I was saying in my last word, so God has been considered unpopular in recent years, right? I mean, he's classic, but we've been trying to make him unpopular. Like, Christian music, ew, that's not mainstream, that's not trendy, who wants that? And then instead we're glorifying these demonic artists, right? And so the Lord is saying we're going to see a switch there. And again, this isn't all just going to happen in this month or even in this year. This is going to be something that's going to be, like I said in my Babylon Will Fall message from months ago, we're going to see this falling taking place over time. So the Lord is going to have the Christian artists who have clean hearts and beautiful voices that he anointed them with, they're going to go in the mainstream popular position. They're going to be what's trending and getting, the attention they deserve and the notoriety. Those that are currently at this time sitting in the, top played spots, whether it be on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, especially the ones that are demonic and have wicked hearts, they're going to fall to nothingness, right? So again, there's going to be that switching. Women using their body to make money to pay the bills. So whether that be through stripping or Instagram or OnlyFans, you know what I'm saying, or in the pornography industry, where women have been making unnecessary amounts of money through basically, just shaming their body, basically using their body and using their looks and stuff to get attention, to get likes and status and freebies and whatever. That's going to be looked at as it should. It's going to be looked at as shameful. And the women that are more conservative and modest and, working hard in school just to try to get an education so that they can take care of their families, or young women who are opting instead, they're beautiful and they could go that easy sleazy role. they're not going to do that. They're going to go for take the harder road where it costs more money to put yourself through school, or it costs more you have to be more studious. Instead of going out with friends, you have to study, things like that. Those that are taking the harder route, they're going to get the credit they deserve. And those that are taking the easy sleazy route, that's going to be looked down upon and considered shameful, right? I mean, I know with my age, 30, 40 years ago, if you were embarrassed to tell people that you were taking your clothes off in any form or fashion. But nowadays it's considered just the way it is, right? Oh, what? You're a female and you're not taking off your clothes? What's wrong with you? You must be ugly. Like, what? And then we're going to see, for instance, divorce is considered the way of today. Like, everyone is divorcing. That's going to be considered shameful. And then we're going to be glorifying marriage. Just like, again, like 30, 40 years ago, you stayed together. Like, there were times spouses cheated and made mistakes, but you still stayed together because back in those days, you didn't want to be divorced. Nowadays, your husband loses his job and you divorce him because, what good is he to you now that he can't make the money he was making before? You know what I'm saying? Or your wife, she gained some weight because she had your third child. Well, it's time to divorce her now because how dare she not look as good as the girl down the street? So nowadays, like 30, 40 years ago, you divorced in the worst of circumstances, and even then it was considered a shameful thing. Nowadays, it's considered what you do. If you're with your husband or wife and you don't divorce them over the most insignificant thing, people look at you funny, right? So I made words about this in the past about how the Lord's taking things back to the 90s. That's what he's saying, is he's going to go back to how things were 30, 40 years ago, before Y2K and before the smartphone and before things got completely out of whack. But again, it's going to take time. But like I'm just saying, I've made words about this already, but he's giving me more refinement on it. So yeah, so these are just some examples. So basically anything that you see. So right now, Christian music is considered unpopular and demonic music is considered popular. Well, in the future, we're going to see demonic music being unpopular and Christian music being popular. We're going to see this changing, right? We're also going to see where, like I say, just everything, like the type of business dealings we do, if you're trying to invest in things you shouldn't and you're trying to run things in a corrupt way, that's going to be considered shameful, as it should be. So it's getting like back to the basics, right? So moving in the future, we're going to see Christian music become popular. We're going to see Christian movies become popular. We're going to see Christian actors and actresses become popular. And then we're going to see those that are in the industries today washed up, basically, right? And that if you're trying to get ahead in any of these industries off of somebody else's back, or you have a dirty heart, or wicked intentions, or blood on your hands, you're not going to pass into anything, right? So that's going to be one of the forms of the Lord's judgment. And so there's that. So yes, so he wanted, and then even with, like I was saying again, so now I go back with the crypto stock thing. So we've been seeing that taking off in the last 10, 20 years as a way of the future, right? But the Lord is saying is that, no, we're going to see those things start to like take a plummet, and what's going to come back to what should be is actual businesses and things like that. And these aren't going to be the types of businesses that we already have now, where there's these corporations, these big box stores that are trying to, they are just raking in millions and millions and millions every year. He's meaning more like small businesses of things that we would actually need, like for example, he's just putting on my mind right now. I know I've seen where people are trying to get businesses where like going of off the grid living, or like sustaining your own, growing your own garden, or like you buy these kits or little plots of land that you can make your own of, things like that. And he's going to make that more of a necessity and more of a desire, right? Things like, how we have so much like fast food and stuff, that's going to start to take a spin as well. Where like eating all the greasy foods and burgers isn't necessarily going to be the choice, like the popular choice. It'll be more of like, and we've already started to see where people are going vegan and stuff, but I don't think that the Lord's necessarily trying to get us away from eating meat. But again, I'm waiting to get more confirmation from him on that, because I have asked him about that before. I mean, in the Bible, they did eat fish, right? But like, I don't know. So I'll have to wait and get back to you on that one and see if I get anything from the Lord on it. But I'm just saying he is going to want us to be more, not necessarily plant-based, but just of a more natural diet. Like, we don't know all what they in the Bible, because we don't have those foods today. But we know that the foods we eat today weren't made available to them back then, right? So he's going to be trying to take things back to that simplistic way. Again, like I say, the females and the males putting so much attention and showing off their bodies and working out. Like, he wants us to work out and be healthy, but like where you're taking the steroids and the surgeries and the implants and things like that, and where you're spending so much money and focus and time on yourself, that's not going to be considered as attractive or popular moving into the future. It's going to be more attractive to be more, just more natural, right? In every sense of the way. So like women going without makeup more and things like that. Now, again, this isn't to say that he's against those who take time on themselves, but we know there's a fine line. Or even all celebrities or all singers or all athletes. But again, we know there's a fine line, right? So yeah, and then like I was saying earlier about your enemies. So your enemies have been going against you for all the years prior, and I know they were with me. And this time last year, like this time, January 2023 of last year, they assumed they were going to be successful. And let's be honest, in ways you thought maybe they would succeed too. But here we are a whole year later, and now not only are they not successful, but you see how they'll never be successful in their endeavor. And you can't believe that you once thought, like, had the perspective on the situation then that you have now. And the only time that has passed has been a year. So my point is, look what the Lord can do in a year, right? This time last year, I felt like, I was on level 5 and the enemy was on level 6. This time this year, I feel like the enemy is on level 2 and I'm on level 12, right? And that's what the Lord does in a year, right? So imagine what this looks like this time next year. So don't think that it can't happen. Just look back at already how far you've come in these last 3 years, right? And so now, like I made in the word a while back about the lots have been cast. So there's the scripture that says, the door will open a door that no man can shut, and the Lord will shut a door that no man can open. So he was saying to me while I was doing the dishes that he's closed the door that was open as of January 1st, 2024, December 31st, 2023. He closed that door and no man can open it. And he has now, as of this year, opened a door that no man can shut. So your enemy has been trying and will continue to try to shut this door, but it didn't work even this time last year when the odds were more in their favor. So there's no way it will now, because the Lord has this time this year that he didn't do last year. This year, he has closed that door and no one can open it. And he's went ahead and also simultaneously opened a door that no one can shut. So the enemy was fighting a losing battle this time last year, but now there's just no contest, right? So the Lord is saying that if your enemies had, and the key enemy being Satan, if they had such issues with you in your past, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years ago, wait till they see what's in store now that the Lord has done this action of shutting the door to the past and opening the door to the future. And again, this is all part of, like I said, the glorifying the Lord, where it's showing them that, because like I've said before, what better validation is there? Yes, the Lord can raise you up. That's validation, but to have your enemies fall, that furthers it all the more. Or however you want to look at it, he can have your enemies fall like you've requested, sure, but then he's going to raise you up. It's a double, twofold restoration, because on one hand, your enemies are getting cut off at the knees like you were expecting them to, but on the other hand, you're getting elevated as well, right? So that's the thing that's going to stick it to them the most, right? If they just fell and you were down low, it wouldn't bother them so much. And if you were raised up and they stayed where they're at, it wouldn't bother them so much. But when they see themselves fall and you elevated, and they see this huge margin between the two of you, it's going to just that's beyond, right? But that's the Lord's intentions, okay? So think about it. If the enemy was going against you hardcore last year and all last year, just so you didn't get to the position you've made it to, what do you think they're going to do this year when it's been found that you have made it, right? Of course they're going to go, but the difference is that last year the door was still somewhat open, and this year the Lord has shut it. So they don't have the access that they once had, right? No matter how much they may try. So that's in store for them this year moving forward. And yeah, I could go on and on, because I would end up repeating a lot of the things I've already said in my past words. But if this is resonating for you and fitting for you and making sense, I would suggest and encourage you to go back and listen to some of my words I've been putting out in the last 3 months, because I touch on this subject almost in every word. So, because like I say, the Lord's been giving this to me for a while. So this is why you're hearing so much buzz about 2024, is because it actually does carry a lot of weight with it. I know a lot every year does, because the Lord is always up to something new. But that he told me that the reason why is because he was shutting the door on everything that we've been going through in the past for chosen ones. In 2023, he shut it, and now in 2024, he's opened one. And he hasn't done it to this level in the past, right? Now, of course, we're all on different timelines. So if I click with you and you resonate with my words and what I say and my messages I put out from the Lord, then this one here should make sense to you too. And again, my messages are for everyone, but those who have ears to hear will hear, and they mostly pertain to the fellow chosen ones, because the Lord, like I say, gets us to communicate with each other. I listen to some chosen one videos, and he leads other chosen ones to mine, right? It's how we talk to each other. Because even though Satan uses social media to his advantage, the Lord uses it to his advantage too. And that's to connect us all. So, and just mind my warning, like I say about the whole cryptocurrency stock trade thing. Like, I'm not trying to put any like negativity per se, but I'm just saying I personally have been told not to waste my precious dollars on that. And that the Lord is coming up with other creative, more structured, dependable ways, reliable ways to create, wealth in the future for me. And He says He's doing it for you as well. So I hope this finds you well. I hope it blesses you, and God bless.